Have you ever said something in anger and wish you could take it back? Maybe it was to someone you love, a partner, a parent, a friend. Words came out fast and hard, and the moment they left your mouth, you knew. You knew it was too much, but it was already done. Or maybe your anger is quieter than that. Maybe you don't shout. Maybe you just carry it. You carry it in your chest like a stone that never moves. You replay the conversation again and again. You think about what they did, what they said, what they should have said instead. And late at night, when everything is quiet, you are still there, talking to someone in your head who isn't even in the room. If this sounds familiar, you are not alone, and you are not broken. Anger is one of the most human things there is. Every person on this earth has felt it. The question is not whether you feel angry. The question is what you do with it. Because anger, when it is not understood, when it is not released, does not disappear. It waits. It grows. And slowly, quietly, it starts to cost you things. Your sleep, your relationships, your peace. Today, we are going to talk about that. This is a graded lesson for English learners who want peace of mind. And what you are about to hear is not new. It is not a trend. It is not something invented last year. These are practices that come from Buddhist tradition, over 2,500 years old, tested across generations, across cultures, across every kind of human pain you can imagine. And they still work. Because human beings have always felt angry, and human beings have always needed a way through. By the end of this lesson, you will have 4 ancient tools, 4 practices you can use today, this week, this month, whenever anger rises inside you. Not to kill the anger, not to pretend it isn't there, but to understand it, hold it, and finally let it go. Remember, this anger is a fire. You choose whether to feed it or let it go. If that idea speaks to you, if you have been looking for something like this, subscribe right now. There is more coming, and you are going to want to stay. Let's begin. Lesson 1. Before you can let go of anger, you need to understand what it actually is. Most people think anger is the problem. They think if I could just stop feeling angry, everything would be better. But that is not quite right. Anger is not the problem. Anger is a signal. It is telling you something. Something hurts. Something feels unfair. Something inside you needed protection or love or respect, and it did not get it. The problem is not the anger itself. The problem is what we do with it after. There is a teaching in Buddhist tradition that has stayed with people for over 2,500 years. It is called the second arrow. And once you hear it, you will never think about anger the same way again. Imagine you are walking through a field. Suddenly, an arrow strikes you. It is painful. It is real. You did not ask for it. That is the first arrow. That is the difficult thing that happened to you. The hurtful word someone said, the betrayal, the disappointment, the loss. You did not choose it. You cannot undo it. The pain is real. But then something else happens. You reach into your own hand and you fire a second arrow into yourself. That second arrow is the story you tell yourself about what happened. It is the anger you carry for days, for months, for years. It is the replaying, the imagining, the blaming, the bitterness. The event is over, but the second arrow keeps flying. And every time you fire it, it hurts just as much as the first. Here's the truth. You cannot always stop the first arrow. Life sends them. People disappoint us. Things go wrong. But the second arrow, that one is yours. You are the one firing it. and you are the one it is hitting. There was a woman named Maya. She was a nurse, kind and patient with everyone at work, everyone except herself. For 15 years, she carried anger at her father. He had left when she was 7 years old. No explanation, no goodbye, just gone. She grew up, she built a life, she became someone strong. But every time she thought of him, the anger was there. Fresh, hot, immediate, as if it had just happened. Then one evening, her mother told her something she had not known. Her father had died 3 years earlier, quietly, alone. Maya sat in her car for a long time after that, and she realized something that broke her open. Her father was gone. He had been gone for years, but the anger was still there, still alive, still burning inside her. The event had ended long ago, but the second arrow. She had been firing it herself every single day. This is what anger does when we do not understand it. It outlives the moment that created it. It becomes a habit, a companion we never asked for. Here is something worth sitting with. There is a difference between saying, I am angry, and saying, there is anger inside me right now. One word, one small shift. But it changes everything. Because when you say, I am angry, anger becomes your identity. It becomes who you are. But when you say, there is anger inside me, you create a little space. You become the one observing the anger, not the one consumed by it. Anger is a fire. You choose whether to feed it or let it go. And the first step toward letting it go is simply this. Understand that the fire is not you. Lesson 2. So if anger hurts us, why do we hold on to it? This is the question most people never stop to ask. They know the anger is heavy. They know it costs them sleep, costs them peace, costs them mornings they could have spent feeling light, and yet they hold on. Why? The answer in Buddhist teaching comes down to 3 things: attachment, unmet expectations, and fear. Let's start with attachment. In Buddhist philosophy, there is a word called dukkha. It is an old Pali word, and it is difficult to translate exactly. But the feeling it describes, you already know. It is the weight you carry when life does not go the way you wanted. When someone you trusted lets you down. When something you believed in turns out to be wrong. When the world does not match the picture you had in your mind. Dukkha is not just sadness. It is the gap between what you expected and what actually happened. And anger very often lives in that gap. Think about the last time you felt truly angry at someone. Not just annoyed, truly angry. Now ask yourself, what did you expect from them that they did not give you? Respect, maybe. Honesty, loyalty, love. You had a picture of how things should be, and they broke that picture. The anger is not just about what they did. It is about the distance between what you hoped for and what you got. And underneath the attachment, underneath the unmet expectations, there is almost always something quieter, something softer. Fear. Fear of being hurt again. Fear that if you let go of the anger, you are saying what happened was okay. Fear that without the anger, you will have nothing left to protect you. Fear that forgiving means forgetting. Fear that letting go means losing. Here's what most people miss. Holding on to anger feels like power. It feels like you are doing something. You are not just sitting there accepting what happened. You are fighting back in your own mind over and over again. But here is the truth. The person you are angry at is not inside your head. Only you are. And the one being hurt by the replay, by the bitterness, by the sleepless nights, is not them. It is you. There is a teacher named Thich Nhat Hanh. He is a Vietnamese Buddhist monk who has spent his whole life teaching people how to work with difficult emotions. He says that when anger rises inside you, instead of pushing it away or feeding it, try something different. Talk to it gently, the way you would talk to a child who is crying and doesn't know why. You say to the anger, I see you. I know you are there. I am not going to ignore you. But I am also not going to let you drive, because that is what anger wants. It wants to be seen. It wants to be acknowledged. When we fight it, when we shame ourselves for feeling it, it only grows louder. But when we turn toward it, when we say, yes, I feel this, I understand why, something changes. The anger does not disappear immediately, but it softens. It becomes something you are holding rather than something that is holding you. Most people try to push anger away, but anger pushed away always comes back louder. The person who understands this stops fighting and starts listening, not to the anger's demands, but to what the anger is trying to say underneath. Because beneath every fire, there is something that needed warmth. And when you find that, when you truly find it, the fire begins to quiet down on its own. Lesson 3. Now we move from understanding to doing. The first practice is the simplest one, and because it is simple, people often underestimate it. They think, I already know how to breathe. What difference can it make? A lot. It can make a lot of difference, and here is why. Over 2,500 years ago, the Buddha taught something called anapanasati. It is a long word, and you do not need to remember it. What you need to remember is what it means. It means mindful breathing, breathing with full attention, breathing as an anchor, breathing as a way back to yourself when you have drifted away into the storm of emotion. The teaching is simple. When anger rises before you speak, before you act, before you do anything at all, you breathe. 3 slow breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Long, gentle, intentional. That is it. That is the whole practice. But here is what those 3 breaths actually do. Between the moment something triggers your anger and the moment you respond, there is a space, a tiny space. Most of the time, we do not even notice it is there. We go from trigger to reaction in a heartbeat. Someone says something sharp, we say something sharper. Someone does something hurtful, we do something to hurt back. It happens fast. Too fast for wisdom. Too fast for kindness. The 3 breaths do not change what happened. They do not make the anger disappear. What they do is stretch that space. They give you just enough room to choose, to ask yourself, is this how I want to respond? Is this the person I want to be in this moment? You breathe in, you slow down, you choose. That sequence, breathe in, slow down, choose, is the oldest anger management tool in human history, and it costs nothing. It requires no app, no book, no special room. Just 3 breaths, just a pause. Now you might be thinking, but when I am truly angry, I forget to breathe. I forget everything. That is completely normal. Anger triggers a physical response in your body. Your heart beats faster, your muscles tighten, your mind narrows. Everything in you is ready to react. This is the body protecting itself. And it is very old, very powerful. But here is something interesting. When you pause and breathe slowly, you send a signal to your nervous system, a signal that says the danger is not real. You are safe. Calm down. And your body listens. Not immediately, not perfectly, but it listens. Over time, your brain actually builds new pathways that make it easier to pause the next time and the time after that. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Think about a moment at work. A colleague sends you an email that feels unfair. Your chest tightens, your jaw clenches. Everything in you wants to write back immediately to defend yourself, to make them understand exactly how wrong they are. Before you type a single word, you close your eyes. You breathe in slowly, hold for a moment, and breathe out. You do it again and once more. 10 seconds, that is all. And in those 10 seconds, something shifts. Not everything. The frustration is still there, but it is no longer driving. You are driving now. And the email you write from that place is calmer, clearer, and more likely to actually solve the problem than the email you would have written 30 seconds before. This is not weakness. Pausing is not backing down. Pausing is taking control. It is choosing your response instead of being controlled by your reaction. 3 breaths every time. That is where it starts. Lesson 4. The second practice has a name, and the name itself is worth remembering. It is called RAIN, R-A-I-N. 4 letters, 4 steps. And together they form one of the most gentle, most powerful ways to sit with anger without being destroyed by it. This practice comes from a long tradition of Vipassana meditation, insight meditation, the kind that asks you to look closely at your own mind with honesty and without judgment. It has been taught in Buddhist communities for centuries, and today it is used by therapists, teachers, and counselors all over the world because it works. Let me walk you through it. R is for recognize. The moment anger rises, you stop and you simply notice. You say to yourself, I recognize that I am feeling angry right now. Not I am angry, not this is terrible, just I notice this feeling. I see it, I am naming it. This one step alone, naming the emotion, creates a small but important distance between you and the feeling. You are no longer lost inside the anger. You are standing just outside it, looking at it clearly. A is for allow. This is the step most people skip, and it is the most important one. You allow the anger to be there. You do not fight it. You do not tell yourself you should not feel this way. You do not push it down or pretend it isn't real. You simply say, it is okay that this is here. I do not need to act on it, but I am not going to pretend it doesn't exist either. You give the anger permission to be felt, because what we resist persists, and what we allow moves. I is for investigate. Now you get curious. Where do you feel this anger in your body? Is it in your chest? A tightness? A pressure? A heat? Is it in your shoulders, your jaw, your stomach? You bring your attention there. You breathe into that place. You simply notice what is happening physically without trying to fix it. This is important because anger lives in the body before it lives in the mind. And when you bring gentle attention to the body begins to release. N is for nurture. This is where you become your own best friend. You ask yourself, what do I need right now? If a dear friend came to you feeling exactly the way you feel right now, what would you say to them? You would probably say, I understand. I see why you feel this way. You are not wrong for feeling it. Now say that to yourself, gently, honestly, without condition. Let me make this simple. Rain is not about solving the problem that made you angry. It is not about deciding who was right and who was wrong. It is about taking care of yourself first so that you can respond to the problem from a place of calm instead of a place of fire. A person who runs from anger stays its prisoner forever. A person who faces anger, names it, holds it gently, that person is free. Remember Maya the nurse who carried 15 years of anger at her father? One evening, she sat down and tried this practice for the first time. She did not expect much. She was not sure she even believed it would help. She just sat quietly and she went through each step slowly. She recognized the anger. She allowed it to be there. She investigated it and she found it sitting in the center of her chest, heavy and hot, like a stone that had been there so long she had almost forgotten it was not part of her. And then she nurtured herself. She said quietly, "I understand why you are here. You are here because a little girl needed her father and he was not there. That little girl deserved better. And I am so sorry she did not get it." She sat there for 20 minutes. She cried. And when she stood up, she said, something had shifted. Not everything, not all at once, but something lighter had moved into the space where the stone used to be. It's not about being perfect. It's about being present. It's about being honest with what you feel. That is all Rain asks of you. Lesson 5. The third practice is the one people find most difficult. Not because it is complicated, it is actually very simple, but because it asks something of you that feels at first completely impossible. It asks you to wish well to the person you are angry at. I know, stay with me. This practice is called Metta. In the ancient Pali language, Metta means loving kindness. It means goodwill. A warm and open heart toward all living things, including, yes, the ones who hurt you. Metta meditation is one of the oldest practices in all of Buddhist tradition. It has been taught and practiced for over 2,500 years in monasteries, in villages, in quiet rooms by ordinary people carrying ordinary pain. And the reason it has survived for so long is simple. It works. Not because it is magic, but because it changes something fundamental in the person who practices it. Here is how it works. You begin with yourself. You sit quietly, you breathe, and you repeat these words slowly in your mind. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be at peace. May I be free from suffering. You say them gently without rushing. You let them land. You deserve these things. Start there. Then you move outward. You think of someone you love deeply, a parent, a child, a close friend, and you offer the same words to them. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be at peace. May you be free from suffering. Let yourself feel the warmth of that. Let it be real. Then you think of someone neutral, someone you see but don't know well, a neighbor, a person on the street, and you offer the same words to them too, because every person you pass is carrying something. Every person is doing their best with what they have. And then, the last step, the hard one, you think of the person you are angry at, and you try as best you can to offer them the same words. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be at peace. May you be free from suffering. You do not have to feel it fully the first time. You do not have to believe it completely. You just try. You just reach in that direction. Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese Buddhist teacher, has a beautiful way of thinking about this. He says that when we look at someone who has hurt us, we should try to see them as a suffering person. Because people who are at peace, people who are truly happy, do not hurt others. They simply don't. Cruelty comes from pain. Anger that is thrown at us almost always began as pain inside the person throwing it. This does not make what they did right. It does not excuse the hurt they caused, but it changes the way we see it. And when we see it differently, we carry it differently. Hear me on this. Wishing someone well does not mean what they did was acceptable. It does not mean you have to let them back into your life. It does not mean you are weak or that you are pretending nothing happened. It means something much more important than all of that. It means you are choosing to stop burning yourself for something they did. If you can wish peace for yourself, if you can wish peace for someone you love, if you can wish peace for someone who hurt you, you are free. That freedom is not for them. It is entirely for you. Anger is a fire. You choose whether to feed it or let it go. And metta loving kindness is perhaps the most powerful way to finally, truly let it go. Not in one sitting, not perfectly, but slowly, practice by practice, breath by breath, the fire cools, the weight lifts, and you begin to feel something you may not have felt in a very long time. Light. Lesson 6. There is one more teaching. And this one does not ask you to do anything at all. It only asks you to remember something. In Buddhist philosophy, there is a word called Anicca. It means impermanence, the truth that everything changes, everything passes. Nothing, not joy, not pain, not anger, stays forever. Not a single thing in this world is permanent. And when you truly understand this, not just in your head, but deep in your body, it changes the way you hold everything, especially the heavy things. Think about the sky. On a stormy day, the sky fills with dark clouds. They move in fast, heavy, and gray, and they cover everything. If you only looked at the sky in that moment, you might think the sky had always been like this, that the sky is dark, that it has always been dark, that it will always be dark. But the sky is not the clouds. The sky is just where the clouds are passing through. And the clouds always pass. Your anger is like those clouds. When it is here, it feels total. It feels permanent. It feels like it has always been this way and it always will be. But it won't. It never does. Every anger you have ever felt in your life has passed. Every single one. Even the ones you thought you would carry forever. They changed, they softened, they moved. The practice of Anicca is simply this. When anger rises, you say to yourself, this is here now, and it will pass. I do not need to hold it. I do not need to fight it. I only need to watch it move through the way the sky watches the clouds. You are not the anger. You are the sky. Marcus Aurelius was a Roman emperor who lived nearly 2,000 years ago on the other side of the world from where Buddhist philosophy was being taught. He never read the Pali scriptures. He never sat in a monastery. But he arrived at the same truth. He wrote in his journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Two traditions. Two different worlds, one truth. What happens outside you is not in your control. What happens inside you, that is where your power lives. The Dalai Lama has said something similar in his own way, that if you are patient in one moment of anger, you save yourself 100 days of sorrow. One moment of patience, one breath, one choice to let the cloud pass instead of reaching up and pulling it down onto yourself. A weak mind holds on to every storm names, every cloud carries, every gray sky like it is personal. A strong mind watches the storm, breathes through it, and remembers what the sky always knows. This too will pass. Anger is a fire. You choose whether to feed it or let it go. And impermanence is the quiet reminder that the fire, no matter how bright it burns right now, will not burn forever. Not if you stop adding wood to it, not if you breathe. Not if you remember that you are the sky, not the storm. Let the clouds move. Let the anger pass. And trust that on the other side of this feeling, there is open sky waiting for you. There always is. Lesson 7, there is one last piece. And it is about what you do when the anger is still fresh. Before the breathing has settled it. Before rain has moved through it. Before Metta has softened it. Before impermanence has reminded you that it will pass. What do you do in the very moment? Buddhist teaching has a concept called wise speech. It is part of something called the Noble Eightfold Path, the practical guide the Buddha gave for living with less suffering. And wise speech at its core means this: speak only when your mind is clear. Speak only when your words will help, not harm. And when you are not sure, wait. Not forever, not as punishment, just wait. Anger that speaks immediately almost always regrets. You know this. You have lived this. The words that come out in the heat of anger are rarely the words you would choose with a calm mind. They are faster than wisdom. They are louder than love. And once they are out, they cannot come back. Anger that waits, breathes, listens. That anger becomes something else entirely. It becomes clarity. It becomes a conversation instead of a confrontation. It becomes something that might actually solve the problem instead of making it bigger. Now think about this. What if the person you are angry at is not someone you can talk to? What if they are far away, or the relationship is over, or like Maya's father, they are no longer in this world? Here is a practice that has helped more people than you might expect. You write a letter, a real one, on paper if you can. You write everything. Everything you wanted to say, everything you never got to say. Every piece of hurt and anger and grief and love that has been sitting inside you unsaid. You write it all down honestly without editing yourself. And then you do not send it. You keep it, or you burn it, or you fold it and put it somewhere quiet. But you do not send it, because the purpose of the letter is not to reach them. The purpose is to reach yourself. After you write it, you wait 24 hours. Then you read it again. Out loud if you can. And you listen. Not to the anger in the words, but to what is underneath the anger. The hurt. The longing. The part of you that just wanted things to be different. Maya did this. One quiet evening, she sat at her kitchen table with a pen and a piece of paper, and she wrote to her father. She wrote for a long time. She wrote things she had never said to anyone. She cried while she wrote. And when she was done, she read the letter out loud in the empty room. She did not forgive him because he deserved it. She forgave him because she deserved peace. She let go. She moved on. She lived. Not perfectly, not all at once. But she woke up the next morning and something was different. The stone in her chest was smaller. Not gone, but smaller. And for the first time in 15 years, she slept through the night. That is what letting go actually looks like. It does not look like forgetting. It does not look like pretending. It looks like a woman at a kitchen table with a pen and a piece of paper, finally saying the things that needed to be said. Finally giving herself permission to put down a weight she had been carrying far too long. Anger is a fire. You choose whether to feed it or let it go. And you right now in this moment have everything you need to begin. We have come a long way together today. You started this lesson carrying something. Maybe you knew exactly what it was. Maybe you could not quite name it, but something brought you here. Something in you was ready to look at the anger, to understand it, and to begin the work of letting it go. So before we say goodbye, let's bring it all together. 4 practices, 4 ancient tools, each one simple, each one real, each one tested across 2,500 years of human experience. The first practice is breathe and pause. Before you react, before you speak, before you do anything, you take 3 slow breaths. You stretch that space between the trigger and your response. And in that space, you choose. You breathe in, you slow down, you choose. The second practice is rain. You recognize the anger. You allow it to be there without fighting it. You investigate where it lives in your body. And you nurture yourself with the same kindness you would offer a dear friend. You do not run from the anger. You sit with it gently until it begins to soften. The third practice is metta, loving kindness. You start with yourself. You move outward to the people you love. And when you are ready, when you feel even a small willingness, you extend that same wish for peace to the person who hurt you. Not for them, for you, because you deserve to be free. The fourth practice is Anicca, impermanence. You remember that you are the sky, not the storm. The anger is a cloud. It is real, it is here, and it will pass. Everything does. You watch it move through you, and you trust that on the other side, there is open sky. And when you need to speak, you wait until you are clear. You write the letter if you must. You give yourself the gift of words said from a calm place, not a burning one. You are not your anger. You never were. Anger is human. It means you cared about something. It means something mattered to you. There is nothing wrong with feeling it. The only question that matters is what you do next. And now you have something to do. You have 4 somethings. Which of these 4 practices do you want to try first? Tell me in the comments below. I read every one. And if someone you know is carrying a weight they can't seem to put down, share this with them. Sometimes a person just needs to know there is a way through. If this lesson moves something in you, subscribe. There is more coming, and it will be worth your time. Keep listening, keep learning, and keep letting go. This is how English learners grow. One story, one breath, one practice at a time. Until next time, take care of yourself. You deserve that.